Hello! Today I'm going to be explaining every single pool rooms level that there is. I'm talking sub-levels, I'm talking secret rooms, I'm talking literally every single variation of the pool rooms. I'm discussing them in this single video today. The pool rooms itself is one of the best, if not the best, all-time liminal spaces and backrooms levels. There's dangerous areas, there's chill areas, there's everything in between, and if you enjoy this video at any point in time, leave a like, that way I know to bring around more long videos to the channel. Thank y'all so much for watching, thank you for tuning in, and let's go ahead and get into the show, shall we? So the drained depths have been classified as a class 5 difficulty, and they're extremely unsafe and unstable as an overall level, and the entire place is just very dangerous. As I always do in these types of videos, I'm going to be going over each reason the level is unsafe, whether it be the environments, the entities, the non-Euclidean geometry, all of it, so just get ready to strap in. This one is weird. Level 37.8 is a vast expanse in a winding complex of white tiled rooms, hallways, and corridors, and walls that all look like the pool rooms, except this sublevel is devoid of any liquid water, any of it. There's nothing here. The layout of the level is also very up to debate, and it changes constantly depending where you go. It's also been noted there are plenty of unconventionally shaped hallways, rooms, corridors, levels, chambers, all that kind of stuff. Everything looks strange. Sometimes there are huge open rooms, sometimes there are small cramped corridors. All the places are empty of water. That's all you need to know right now. Now you might be saying, what would the level not having any water have to do with anything? I mean, how could that be dangerous? It actually is shockingly dangerous, because this could lead to several dangers of getting stuck in a deep area, falling into a huge deep chasm where a pool used to be, or losing your footing and slipping down a slide or something and not being able to get out. I'll get into all the dangers later, but that's just where you need to get your head around. This place is not safe. The tiles themselves here have been noted to be very dangerous and non-welcoming to humans at all, as falling on them or running into them can result in pretty bad damages to the body, like fractures and contusions and all that great fun stuff that happens when you fall on stuff. Pretty much, it's a hard surface, don't jump onto it, and if you fall, try to cover your head. It's also been reported that walking on the tiles with bare feet can lead to blisters forming faster than the usual blister. It's almost like these tiles are very corrosive to human flesh in general. So just don't walk around this level with the dogs out, okay? It's pretty simple. I don't know why you'd be walking around the backrooms with no shoes on, but moving on. Another strange and unique property to this sublevel is that you might run across a segment of rooms or hallways that are completely upside down. And it's not just the physical level and the tiles that are upside down, it's the gravity too. In these reverse parts, the gravity will go from the floor being normal and to throwing you up to the ceiling and making that the floor. Because of this random gravitational shift, the wanderer might become disoriented and confused, or you might get motion sick to your stomach since you just got thrown up to a ceiling, kind of like being on a roller coaster. But it is said that when this happens, feelings of discomfort and uneasiness and just horror overtake your thoughts, and they give you this uncontrollable fear. Now, just like some of the other sublevels of the pool rooms, the lighting here seems to come right out of the walls themselves. Like there are no obvious sources of light, like windows or light bulbs or whatever. It just seems to literally emanate from the tiles, and it's almost like the level produces its own light. This lighting can also give wanderers here these really uneasy, trapped feelings because you feel squeezed in and claustrophobic, almost like you're in a cage. You know, you're walking through these empty pools and these tight hallways and chambers, and on top of that, there's no light source, so you kind of just feel like you're in a box. While exploring these empty rooms, it's also not uncommon to hear random noises of machinery. These noises have an unknown source, but it's been described as a low machinery hum, almost like a buzz from the lights over on level 0. But the noise can be very annoying to people and almost rage-inducing to those who are, susceptible to noises, so you gotta watch out for that as well. Some people even claim that these noises cause hallucinations to occur and distressing mental states to happen. I don't know about that, that's just what the document says. This level is also genuinely considered to be one of the most unsettling ones throughout all the lore. Like, it's so disturbing, and it leaves you so lonely that it's almost like solitary confinement in a way. It's sticking you in these empty tile walls and forcing you to walk around with no end in sight for days and weeks and years. And because of that, and all the other things that I've talked about, you shouldn't come here, obviously. Now, why is there actually no water in this area? Now, you know, this is a proper sub-level of the pool rooms, so technically there probably should be some type of water, but it's thought here that the tiles themselves have another strange property that's not really understood. It's that any liquid that comes into contact with this tile, the tile will soak all the liquid up and it'll dry instantly. So if you drop a bottle of almond water, or if you cut yourself, or if you just take a leak or anything, the tiles will absorb it faster than lightning, and the ground will be completely dry. This means that if you lose bodily fluids by accident, or if you spill your water source, or your food has liquid in it, it'll all soak right into the ground, and you'll never see it again. And I think you can see why that's a bad thing. You don't want to have like a little water bottle left, and then you spill it all, and then it's gone, you know? But that's what happens here. So I mentioned briefly earlier, but the slick nature of the tiles makes traveling around this large expanse even more dangerous, because you could just be walking straight on a path, and then slide down into a massive empty pool, and you'll have no way out because there's no ladder that goes that far down. Or you could fall and slip and hit your body or head on the ground, and it's just very slippery and overall a very hard to traverse level. It's recommended to keep in mind where you're stepping and what shoes you wear in order to not slip and fall into oblivion. In the deeper places of these drained pool rooms, lighting also becomes less and less apparent, and it ends up getting pitch black in some of the areas. And these darker areas will start to appear more and more. These chambers and passages that are pitch black can be very slick and lead to even more chasms and falls and random hallways you can get lost in. And you know, you couple that with the labyrinthine layout of the level, and then you've got a very, very bad time on your hands, especially if you get lost easy. Just try not to slip and fall into an empty pool. You're never getting out. But even the dangerous level, the enigmatic geometry, and the liminal loneliness aren't bad enough, because we haven't even talked about the entities here. The reports of the creatures that lurk in these empty halls have been frequent, but also strange. Tales of shadowy humanoid figures in the darker areas have abounded over the last few months, as well as reports of tall, white shapes that blend directly into the tile walls here and pop out at the last second to attack you have been cited too. Then even more reports of entities being inside of the actual walls and their eyes poking out of missing tiles and staring at you. Some think that these entity encounters are just your brain playing with you after you got stuck here for so long, but most people agree that they're probably real. I mean, let's be honest, the Backrooms is a crazy place. It's not too crazy to think there's entities here. So let me know what you think in the comments. There's also a huge number of facelings in this level that are very dangerous to humans. They seem to have a heightened hostility to people and will attack. You'll also probably run into a smiler or a hound in the deeper parts, especially in the huge holes where the pools used to be. They're probably there. Another reason to not fall down. But there might be even more entities. We don't know. You probably should just hope that you see the regular ones and not the entities that are hiding in the walls, or they're blended into the walls, or the shadow humanoids. Good luck though. So this level is classified as a class 5 difficulty and is unsafe and unsecure. Not a shocker there. If you want to see my full pool rooms explanation, which is the original level, I'll leave it linked below for anybody who's interested. But if you've already seen that, this level seems to be pretty similar to that one, but at the same time, also very different. The level physically looks like a series of detailed and intricate hallways. Some of the hallways are filled with a red, watery looking substance, which isn't red water by the way, but not all of them are filled up. This level's layout is more volatile and dangerous than the regular old pool rooms, and it's because at any time the floor could just stop, or there could be a huge drop down, or there could be a huge hallway that shrinks to really small sizes and causes everything to get claustrophobic, or a wall could form and the path just ends. It's all really just up to change. But by a long shot, that is not the worst part of this level, because the walls and the floors of this level are also dangerous because they're really abrasive to the touch. Kind of like sandpaper, and they seem to be made out of some kind of spiky, rough material. They could shred your shoe sole, or they could hurt your hands or knees if you scrape against it, so just be careful, alright? So just like the pool rooms, this level is covered in water in some spots. But like I said, this isn't just any regular old water or almond water, it's actually liquid pain. Shocker, I'm sure you could tell what it was from the beginning, but it's liquid pain. However, it doesn't just stop there, because this is a specific type of liquid pain that's even more acidic and corrosive and toxic to the touch than the normal kind is, which means that these pools are pretty much filled up with toxic waste that can melt anything almost instantly, even bones. The only way to counteract this effect, if you were to touch this water or anything like that, is to pour almond water directly on it and hope it works. If you fully fall into a pool, I gotta say, it's probably over for you. But now it's time to talk about why this level is called the flesh pools. And I don't think YouTube will be too happy about this, so I'm just gonna go ahead and explain it in the least gruesome way possible. The pools in the water areas of this level are constantly making a loud ripping and tearing noise when they splash around. And inside of the water is chunks of meat. Just regular old meat, YouTube. But the meat floating around kind of makes the water like a giant meat soup. Just regular old meat soup, YouTube. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's where the flesh rooms gets their name from. There's meat in the water. And I'm sure you can infer what kind of meat that is. And it's nasty, to say the least. Now, as I said earlier, the level's paths are extremely dangerous because there's random drop-offs or walls or whatnot. But it seems that the main problem is the islands that you can spawn in or on this level. And these islands are obviously surrounded fully by liquid pain on all sides. Now, stuff like this will make you have to parkour your way around from dry spot to dry spot so you don't touch any of the meat soup below you, and whatever you do, don't touch it. You'll see what happens later, but it's bad. The actual time of day changes on this level randomly between dark and light. And it stays dark or light anywhere from a couple of hours to several days. So it's all random, you can't pinpoint it. But you can guess what happens during these stages. When it's dark, there's no light coming through the windows, and you won't be able to see anything without a flashlight. This is also when more entities come out, but again, more on that later. And when the level is light time, you'll be able to see like normal, and the entities won't be as crazy. However, when it is light time, you'll still be able to see the liquid pain meat soup below you. Alright, so there are two main types of entities here, and they're both seemingly unique to the level. They hide in the dark, shadowy areas of these infinite liquid pain pools, and the first one is called the drippers, which are just grotesque masses of flesh that are roughly shaped like a human, but they're not human. They constantly undulate and morph and wiggle. It's gross, but they kind of look like those mind flayer creatures from Stranger Things, if you've ever seen that. But they're also relatively not the brightest, kind of dumb actually, and they can be outsmarted if you can try to escape them. And guess what? These drippers are formed by the meat stew that you're walking over. That's right, the liquid pain with meat chunks in it forms together to make these entities. Nice. The second and last entity is a second variant of the partygoer entity, and these versions seem to be more aggressive than the regular ones, and they hunt by using a sneak attack method and hiding in the shadows and trying to jump out and pushing you into the liquid pain pools. That's fun, isn't it? Nothing like seeing a giant red and yellow thing running at you and just shoving you into a liquid pool of acid. Love to see it. To enter this level, for whatever insane reason you have, you can go through a small cramped hole in the Poolrooms level, and to exit, you can no-clip through a low window to be sent to level 338. So yeah, look for that low window as soon as you can, that way you don't become part of the meat soup. Just regular old meat soup, am I right? Level 37.3, or Forest Luxury. This level is located between 37 and 38, obviously, that's why it's called a sublevel. You can get to the sublevel by wandering into the pool rooms until you find a modern looking house. Now this house will look like it actually belongs in the pool rooms, because it kind of blends in, it has the same tile on the outside and that kind of stuff, but if you open the door to it and you walk into it, you'll be sent to the sublevel area, which itself is classified as a class 1 difficulty. So it's pretty safe, and it's split into two different parts: the interior, or the inside of the house, and the exterior, the front and backyards. The interior of the house looks like a nice modern house. New appliances, new decorations, and it smells like air freshener. There are actually bedrooms here in this house, and all the rooms are furnished with decorations and amenities, you know, like tables, chairs, beds, mattresses, blankets, all that stuff. And you can actually sleep in the bedrooms, and it's recommended to because they're comfortable, apparently. The exterior part of the area is the front and backyard, like I said, and also the porch area. This is a big difference from how the main part of the pool rooms looks because there's grass here and there's water in the pool rooms. So you actually might be happy to stumble upon this sublevel so you don't have to keep swimming. It's kind of like a good resting area. The porch is made of white bricks, and there's actually a big garage door next to it. And it took Meg a bunch of tries to get into it, and when they did, they found a ton of supplies stashed away, like almond water, food, and other stuff. And weirdly, there was a note there that said, quote, "Good job on opening the garage door. I didn't expect anyone to open it." So here's some rewards. Now, after all the supplies were searched, the door itself was looked at thoroughly by Meg's scientists, and it turns out that it's made out of titanium, which is extremely strong, and overdoing it for a garage door, so no one knows why the garage door was so thick and strong. There's also a pool in the house's backyard that gets deeper and deeper the further you go down through it. It's actually thought that the water might take you back to the main pool rooms level, but that's not confirmed right now. In this little area, there's actually a couple of friendly colonies that permanently live here, and they kind of treat it like an oasis, because it kind of is, you know, it's a land amidst all the water. You can enter this sublevel by finding that modern house in the pool rooms and walking through the door, or you can exit by walking out past the front yard of the house, and that'll send you back to the main part of level 37. So that was the first secret sublevel of the pool rooms. Now it's time for the second one, which is sublevel 37.5, or the pool of the hotel. It's classified as a class 0 and is the safest area throughout all of the pool room's domain. It's got the lowest classification ranking. But an interesting thing is that it's not exactly known where the level is. It's somewhere between level 5 and 37, we know that for a fact, but it's thought to be right after the pool room's main level. The level itself is a tiny-ish pool area at the bottom of a slide. The pool itself looks really similar to the pool rooms with the tile and stuff, but inside of this pool's water is fish. Interesting. And this area can only be gotten to by going down that slide to get here. The only entities here are the fish in the water and this bat creature called the rollers. They're both harmless, and they'll just let you swim in peace, man. To get to this area, you gotta go down that slide like I said, but the slide's entrance is from level 5, which is a sneaky way to get to the pool rooms. To exit this hidden pool area, you can go through a door hatch down there that leads you to the pool rooms, or you can walk back up the slide the way you came, but it'll take you to level -5 instead of level 5, so you get to pick your poison. And that was the second secret sub-level of the pool rooms. So, Backrooms level 188.8 is classified as a class 4 difficulty and is very unsafe and unsecure with a high entity count, unlike the pool rooms or the original level 188. This place is dangerous. The entire sublevel takes place mainly around this open space with windows and hallways around it, which is very similar to the original level 188 picture. But the main difference is that this level is covered in water, and this water has a nasty secret. There is a disease that hides in the H2O in this level. It is nicknamed the hydrolytis plague, and it is very dangerous to humans. It can cause you to literally fall apart after consuming it or long exposure in it, and it's dangerous because the symptoms start out just like a minor sickness. You know, you got a headache, maybe some cold chills, that kind of thing, but then it develops into a full-on crazy disease, like flesh falling off of you and that kind of stuff. You get the picture. But as I mentioned, the actual level is the pool rooms and level 188 combined. So the level has 188's windows and hallways and walls with the pool room's tile texture on it and the water of the pool rooms as well. Now the floor throughout this sublevel is either fully covered in water or it's partially covered in the water. And the places that are partially covered are very slippery, which makes them still dangerous because you could fall and hurt yourself or something. And then the places that are fully covered in water have the disease in them. So everywhere is dangerous. And just like both of its main levels, this sublevel has a labyrinth of hallways that surround it. And it is in these hallways where you're gonna have to be really careful because there are a ton of doors throughout all of them. And these are not just normal doors, they're entities. And if you haven't heard of what these things are, I'll explain real quick. Doors are living creatures that disguise themselves as rooms with fake opening doorways. Now these entities leave their doors cracked open so people will walk into them. And once someone does walk into them, they'll notice that they're inside of a creature. That's right, the entire room is a fleshy and muscular, nasty mouth. And that's when the acid starts to come out of this thing's tongue. Then you'll be digested. So, yeah, don't go through any doors on this sublevel. On top of door entities, there are also a ton of window entities, which are fake windows that will suck you into them if you get too close. No one knows where you go if a window entity takes you, so it's best to just not go near them, please. Some of the hallways in this sublevel shrink down to be very claustrophobic and tight. And some of them can randomly get deep with water without warning. And it's in these spots where everything gets darker. The deeper you travel around the labyrinth of halls, the smaller, cramped, and more dark the hallways get. And the more entity infested everything gets as well. There's also an event that happens on this level sometimes called the Flash Flood event. And this is where all the water in this entire sublevel rises up pretty fast without warning. And it'll rise up until the entire level from the floor to the roof. And every hallway, every room, every corridor is filled to the brim with water. So you'll not make it out if you stay in the level during this event. You're gonna have to swim or run away as fast as you can to find an exit. And these exits are pretty hard to find. There are two main ones, in fact, and the first one is wandering out in those hallways as far as you can until it eventually starts to gradually change back into level 188. And you'll notice when it does because the water will start to dry up and the hallways will start to get bigger and you won't hear any water or anything like that. But that one's pretty hard since the hallways do get dangerous the further you go into them. Now the other exit is to try to find a place to no-clip to be sent back to the pool rooms, which is an easier exit, but at the same time, there is not one concrete place to no-clip. It's pretty random. So good luck escaping. I think this level hybrid is pretty cool. I enjoy how they merge two different levels into one. And it kind of makes the Backrooms seem even crazier and more mysterious to me. Especially because that leaves the question, how many other levels have combined? Is there a level 0 and a level 666 level combined somewhere? Is there a level 0 and level exclamation mark somewhere? Pretty interesting to think about. The Intoxicated Pools. This level is classified as a Class 3 survival difficulty and is generally unsafe and unsecure due to a hazardous environment. The level itself is a huge expanse of rooms and hallways that resemble the pool rooms slightly. There's white tiles here and strange staircases, but the obvious difference is the color of the water. Some of the floors under the water are not tile here as well, and they're actually a shaggy carpet, which is an effect similar to level 7's carpet floor at the bottom of its ocean. The size of the sublevel isn't fully known yet, but it's definitely large. Well over 1,000 rooms because people have been exploring and people have gotten lost, and we just have to assume that it's huge. The lighting on this level comes from the whited out windows, just like the regular pool rooms, so that's one thing that they share. The temperature of the water here is pretty much impossible to actually measure because depending on how close the water is to the windows, the temperature can be vastly different. For example, the closer to the window the water is, the hotter it'll be. So hot to the point where you can't even touch it. And the further away, the more freezing cold it'll be. Now, the water in this level is not actually regular water or almond water, and that's why I did air quotes that you couldn't see, because this is actually thicker and slimier than both of those. It also can't freeze or boil, despite some of it being blisteringly cold and blisteringly hot. The water itself is also a dark lilac color, and it's been described as a purple goo. It's almost like liquidy jello in consistency. The feeling of this goo is very uncomfortable and it's just not very good to touch, and many wanderers have reported getting goosebumps and just feeling very uneasy while being inside of it. It just doesn't feel right. The water is also full of several types of pathogens that carry all sorts of disease and sickness to those who touch it, especially those who fall in or accidentally dunk their head underwater. Because if you do that, the pathogens will go in your nose or ears and get to your brain and respiratory system, causing you to have a hard time breathing and other illnesses as well. In some areas, there are also pieces of fungus and moss that are floating on the surface of this jello water, and it's thought that this fungus and then the pathogens are connected together somehow, and that the purple color of the water has something else to do with it as well. Some have also reported strange psychological effects, like wanting to jump into the water, or feeling really dizzy or obsessed with staying inside of the purple water here. People who do that stuff typically aren't seen again, so don't do that stuff. Many times people will begin to feel obsessed and venture deeper into the sublevel, wanting to get into the water, and once they do, no one ever sees them again. To enter this level, you can no-clip on level 58 to have a chance, or you can cause an accident, whatever that means, on level 96 to be sent here as well. And to exit, you have to be very careful because no-clipping is thought to take you directly to the void level. So no clipping here, which of course, if you don't know what the void is, it's pretty much a death sentence. It'll keep you trapped in an infinite dark area forever. So the way that you need to escape is you need to find a dark, small, and empty hallway and walk through it until you get to the next level, level 871. Now this is the only way you can make it out of the level alive, so unless you find that hallway, you'll be swimming in purple goo forever, and perhaps being absorbed by this purple goo. I mean, it does do weird things to people, so I don't know. Next and finally for this video is level 37.1, or as it's more commonly known, the Deep End. So this sublevel is also classified as a class 3 difficulty, just like the last one, and is unsafe and unsecure due to its environment. Its physical description is very, very similar to the regular pool rooms, with the randomly segmented halls and rooms that are full of water, but the main difference in this sublevel, if you couldn't tell by the name, is the sheer depths of the water here and what might lurk inside of them. You see, normal pool rooms hallways can be decently deep, like 10 feet or so, but most of them are just waist deep. These hallways in the deep end can be well over 40 meters deep, to the point where you can't even see the bottom of them. It's just a dark abyss under you. And this makes navigating the level really hard since you have to tread water and you can't just walk. You have to just swim through this darkness to get anywhere. Another thing that makes this sublevel difficult is the lack of light. The corridors and hallways here are just pitch black for the most part and can only be lit up by artificial sources, like flashlights and phones and whatever else. Now, there are some rare cases where the walls themselves have this weird dingy glow, but that doesn't matter much, to be honest. The connections from room to room in the deep end are also extremely hard to use because most of them are underwater. Not only are they underwater though, they're very claustrophobic. It's a very tight window to get to the next part. So you can't just walk through from hall to hall to get to the next room. You have to swim in the pitch black, in freezing cold water with no light to get to the next area. The level is also not well maintained and clean like the pool rooms is. The regular pool rooms keeps this shiny surface and really sunny, vibrant vibe, and there's no dirt that ever shows. But the tiles and everything here on this level are gross. The water is darker and murky, almost green in some areas, and the air is musty and stale. And it's just a very cold, unpleasant place to find yourself stuck in. The structure and layout of the level can also change very fast while you're exploring, sometimes resulting in very confusing and twisted structures and weird hallways that never end. This is due to non-Euclidean geometry, which is just the icing on the cake for this amazingly dangerous level. I mean, I guess it wasn't dangerous enough that it's dark, you can't see anything, and you're stuck in water. I guess they just had to make it, non-Euclidean as well. Thanks, Backrooms. As far as entities go, there aren't really any that permanently live here. There's only been a few facelings that have been seen wading through deeper waters far into the level, which is actually pretty scary, and it's actually unknown how they got there, but whatever. There's also been some instances of the hydrolytis plague virus, which of course is a very dangerous virus that lurks in water in the Backrooms, so be careful if you have to swim here. And there's also been uncorroborated reports of seeing glitchtons in this sublevel. Now, glitchtons might be a real entity, they might not be. We don't know. They're kind of like this silent skeleton type entity that's been known to lurk deep in the waters here. Who knows? But overall, this level will really mess with your mind. You know, from the freezing water temperatures, to the non-Euclidean layout, to the small claustrophobic and pitch black hallways, to the nasty smell. It just feels like an old, forgotten part of the pool rooms that no one was supposed to see, except thousands of you all just did. You're welcome. To enter the level, you have to wander too deep into the pool rooms, and you'll find yourself stuck here with no way to return. And to exit, you gotta get lucky, to be honest. One of the ways is to randomly find a water slide in the wall, jump in that water slide, and it'll take you to another sub-level, which is level 37.4. It's safer, it's still not safe, but it's safer. Or you can just try to no-clip, but that might not work. It's really hard to exit from the deep end, I gotta say.